Rain hammered the streets of downtown Los Angeles, neon reflections shivering across puddles as Detective Carter pulled his coat tighter against the chill. He ducked into the shadow of a closed pharmacy, eyes locked on the sterile glow of an office 2 blocks away. The city's usual chaos faded into the background, the honking horns, the hurried footsteps, the distant wail of sirens, all muted by the singular pulse of suspicion that ran through him. Inside that building, hidden behind layers of firewalls and password-protected servers, someone was orchestrating a scheme that could bankrupt thousands, and Carter had stumbled across it by accident. A single misplaced line of code in a medical billing software had raised a red flag on his encrypted tablet, and now, as he watched a figure slip past the security cameras with a briefcase, the gravity of the discovery struck him. He wasn't just chasing numbers, he was chasing a network of greed, deception, and danger that reached higher than he had imagined. Every instinct screamed at him to retreat, to call for backup, but deep down, he knew one thing. If he walked away, lives would be ruined, identities stolen, and a multi-million-dollar fraud would continue undetected. Carter's pulse accelerated as he followed the figure through back alleys and service entrances, his boots silent against the wet pavement. The office's interior was a labyrinth of cubicles, filing cabinets, and humming servers, the air thick with the sterile scent of paper and antiseptic. He crouched behind a steel pillar, catching glimpses of a man in a tailored suit, meticulously reviewing stacks of claims forms before sliding them into an unmarked envelope. Every move was deliberate, practiced, as if the man had done this 1,000 times. Carter's mind raced. He needed evidence, but a wrong step could blow his cover. Sweat dripped down his temple as he activated a small camera on his wrist, capturing every motion, every shred of incriminating documentation. The office seemed to pulse with tension, fluorescent lights flickered overhead, shadows danced across the walls, and somewhere in the distance, a phone rang, piercing the silence. The chase was no longer just about discovery, it had turned into a high-stakes infiltration, each second amplifying the risk. Hours blurred as Carter pored over the stolen data in the dim safety of his car, his breath fogging the windows as he scrolled through spreadsheets riddled with fraudulent charges. Patients had been billed for procedures never performed, tests never ordered, and medications never administered. Hospitals, clinics, and even insurance companies were implicated in a tangled web of deceit. The deeper he dug, the more sinister it became. Shell companies funneled money offshore, digital fingerprints erased and reappeared like ghosts, and the mastermind left subtle clues, taunting anyone who dared to trace the fraud. Carter's eyes narrowed. Someone wanted him to find this, wanted him to know, but for what purpose? Each revelation tightened the invisible noose around his neck, and he realized that the office he had infiltrated was only a cog in a much larger machine, a sprawling criminal enterprise disguised as legitimate healthcare administration. Carter knew he couldn't handle this alone. He reached out to Olivia, an investigative journalist known for exposing white-collar crime, and together they began connecting the dots. Phone records, IP logs, and transaction histories revealed a pattern that stretched across California, hitting major hospitals in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego. They discovered that the fraud was not only sophisticated but also politically shielded. Key insiders in health administration seemed to look the other way. Every conversation felt like walking a tightrope, every message encrypted and double-checked. Paranoia crept in. Every knock at the door, every ring of the phone sent Carter's nerves into overdrive. It was no longer just about uncovering the truth, it was about survival, as shadows of those who wished the scheme remained hidden began to close in. Late one night, a tip led Carter to a storage unit on the outskirts of the city, a warehouse smelling of damp cardboard and rusted metal. Inside, rows of filing cabinets and locked crates hinted at the volume of documentation meticulously preserved over years. Carter's flashlight revealed stacks of patient files, old claim forms, and servers humming with encrypted data. The enormity of the operation struck him. Thousands of lives manipulated, identities stolen, bills inflated by tens of thousands of dollars. As he documented each crate, a sense of dread filled him. The very act of being there could trigger alarms or cameras. Every shadow in the cavernous space seemed alive, every creak of the floor echoing like a gunshot. He had found the physical heart of the fraud, but the mastermind remained elusive, always a step ahead, watching from somewhere beyond the walls. Carter's next breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a low-level billing clerk named Jenna who had stumbled upon irregularities in her payroll system. Nervously, she provided screenshots and internal memos, revealing meetings where fraudulent claims were discussed openly, as if the staff were immune to scrutiny. Carter and Olivia pieced together the evidence, realizing that the operation relied on loyalty bought with fear and money. The leak accelerated their investigation, giving them a roadmap through the bureaucratic maze of insurance protocols, medical coding, and electronic health records. But every revelation increased the danger. Someone inside had noticed the leaks, and subtle threats began appearing: anonymous notes, unexplained surveillance, and shadowy figures tailing their movements. Using the data Jenna provided, Carter devised a sting operation, planting false claims to trace the money flow back to the perpetrators. They coordinated with federal authorities under strict secrecy, knowing any leak could compromise months of work. The tension was unbearable as they monitored accounts, watching transactions ping across the country in real time. Finally, a breakthrough. The funds began moving toward an offshore account linked to a prominent healthcare executive. Surveillance footage confirmed their suspicions: the same man from the office, orchestrating every step, smiling as though untouchable. Carter's hands shook as he prepared to confront him, knowing that the next move could either unravel the network or put him directly in harm's way. The confrontation came sooner than expected. As Carter entered a secure server room in one of the implicated hospitals, alarms blared. Lights flickered, doors locked, and for a heart-stopping moment, he realized he had walked into a trap. The mastermind appeared from the shadows, calm and composed, weapon concealed, confident in the knowledge that the law had yet to reach him. Words were exchanged, accusations hurled, and in the chaos, Carter fought to secure digital evidence before it could be destroyed. The room became a battlefield of intellect and adrenaline, as Carter relied on every ounce of training and instinct to outmaneuver a foe who had calculated every possibility. Seconds stretched like hours, and the difference between exposure and erasure hung by a thread. By dawn, the case made headlines: California medical billing fraud uncovered, millions in losses recovered. Carter and Olivia watched as arrests were made, as the web of deceit unraveled in courtrooms and boardrooms. The mastermind faced charges, accomplices confessed, and patients received partial restitution. Yet, as the celebrations faded, Carter could not shake a gnawing unease. Some ledgers were missing, some accounts untouched. The network was wounded but not destroyed. Behind the spectacle of justice, shadows persisted, waiting, silent and patient, for the next opportunity to exploit a broken system. Carter understood that vigilance was eternal. Fraud never truly dies. It mutates, evolves, and waits for the next unsuspecting victim. Months later, Carter sat in his apartment overlooking the city, rain tapping rhythmically against the window. He reviewed the remaining data, encrypted and untouched, a silent testament to battles yet to come. Olivia's exposé had won awards, but the streets whispered a quieter truth. The fraud may have been exposed, but the culture that allowed it remained. Carter lit a cigarette, inhaled slowly, and exhaled into the night, knowing he had glimpsed the underbelly of a system built on trust but corrupted by greed. Somewhere in the city, files waited, claims awaited manipulation, and identities were still at risk. Carter had uncovered the tip of an iceberg, and he would be ready when it rose again.